They uncovered the shocking truth behind Revelations. A biblical tale like no other. Few knew what truly happened that night. The air hung thick with an ominous tension, the kind that sends shivers down your spine. Jerusalem, swathed in darkness, quivered under the weight of unspoken fears. The flicker of oil lamps cast unsettling shadows, dancing like restless spirits on the ancient stone walls. The people whispered of visions, of prophecies that had come alive in the stillness. Eyes widened, hearts raced. Something was brewing in the depths of the city. A figure cloaked in mystery emerged. John, the beloved disciple, wandered through the treacherous alleyways, his mind swirling with the secrets of the divine. He had seen things, heard things that would make the bravest quake. The visions, oh those haunting images. Dragons, beasts, skies split open, each revelation etched deep into his soul. These were not just dreams. They were a foreboding glimpse into mankind's fate. What truths lay in the shadows of those scenes? 3 years had passed since that night in the garden where the world felt the sting of betrayal. Jerusalem had turned, the people divided. Some proclaimed a savior, while others plotted in the dark. The turmoil brewed unrest, and amidst it all, John saw the heavens tremble. He felt the divine touch on his shoulder, urging him to unveil the mysteries hidden from mortal eyes. What was he supposed to do with that weight? Then came the storms, violent and raging. Thunder rolled like drumming hearts. The disciples braced against the winds of change, their minds awash with fear. Was this a punishment, a warning, or a miracle unfolding right before their eyes? Each lightning strike illuminated their doubt, each flash revealing another layer of uncertainty. And there stood John, teetering on the edge of revelation, caught in a web of fate and divine command. The heavens whispered his name. They wanted him to expose the truth. But the price for such knowledge is always steep, isn't it? A tightening in his chest, a lump in his throat. The weight of the world rested upon his shoulders. Would the people understand? Would they even listen? The crowds murmured, eyes darting, fear surfacing alongside hope. Could they withstand what the future held? The images swirled in John's mind: chaos, red skies, fire and brimstone. Would they be ready to hear the shock of the revelations to come? Just then, everything went quiet. The world paused, hanging in breathless anticipation. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As silence enveloped the streets of Jerusalem, an inexplicable sense of stillness descended, almost as if time itself held its breath. John stood at the city's heart, grappling with the enormity of what lay before him. It was as if the world were a canvas, splattered with vibrant colors of hope and despair, each hue representing a part of the divine puzzle he was called to reveal. What lay hidden beneath the surface of the earthly chaos was not merely a warning, but an invitation to end that quiet moment. John remembered the words of his beloved teacher, who had said that all was intertwined: the past, present, and future wrapped tightly in the embrace of divine will. The vision of the Lamb, bearing the marks of sacrifice, lingered in his mind. It hovered over him, a reminder that the narrative of humanity was not solely fraught with darkness but pregnant with the possibility of redemption. Yet, would the hearts of men recognize it? Would they have the courage to seek truth among their fears? Just then, a flock of doves burst from their roost, spiraling into the sky, their wings fluttering like whispers of hope. It struck John that nature itself responded to the very spirit of the revelations that loomed like a dark cloud above, offering a glimpse of salvation in the face of destruction. But the shadows were deep, draping heavy over the multitude who had gathered near the temple to gaze upon him. They looked upon him with eyes wide with curiosity, eager yet apprehensive of the secrets he might unveil. How could he articulate the complexities of their fate? Each face he recognized, woven into the fabric of his own memories. Each life filled with dreams, fears, and the unshakable quest for meaning. In that moment, he dared to speak, his voice breaking the silence. Brothers and sisters, amidst the turmoil, do not forget our story. We are not condemned to despair. Look around you. The universe groans for redemption, and we are called to rise. His words rang out, piercing the veil of uncertainty. But deep down, John wrestled with his own trepidations. Would they heed his call? Would they turn away from the mirage of power and control that gripped them? With fervor igniting within him, John continued, drawing from the well of his visions. The beast speaks in whispers of temptation, alluring power, yet our strength lies not in dominion. We must embrace the Lamb, who suffered for our sake. It is love that will conquer. It is love that will guide our path through the shadows. The crowd shifted. Murmurs of agreement began to emerge, yet doubt hung in the air like a thick fog. Would their hearts open to the truth? As he gazed into their eyes, John felt the weight of their collective silence pressing against him. His heart beat in rhythm with the fear pulsating from the crowd. They were confronted not just with the notions of prophecy and doom, but with the very essence of humanity's struggle against the darkness within. It was not Johnson against John. It was an awakening, an understanding of their shared plight. And then, an echo from the heavens. A low rumbling sounded, reverberating through the ground beneath them, stirring the leaves on trees and sending chills down the spine of all present. John found himself trembling. It was as if the very cosmos responded to his declaration, a reminder of both the weight of his task and the hope that flickered like a dying flame amidst the desolation. As the sign loomed ever larger, he wondered what more was to come. The winds howled and darkened memories surfaced past visions of brokenness that seemed insurmountable. Did they all have the strength to step forward into this awakening, unafraid of what would be required of them? And in the tense silence that stretched across the gathering, one question remained. Could love truly guide them through the revelations that were about to unfold, or would they allow fear to cement their fate in darkness? The air was thick with anticipation, and John's heart raced as he surveyed the crowd. Was it merely the weight of prophecy that had settled upon them, or was it something much deeper, an unquenchable longing for deliverance? Sunlight slipped through the clouds, illuminating a path that seemed invisible moments before, beckoning him to lead. Yet in the shadows of the temple's grandeur, a symbol of their faith and their struggles, murmurs continued to rise, punctuated by a palpable uncertainty. John let the moment linger, drawing strength from the stillness. What has been forgotten must be remembered, he urged. Your stories, your struggles, they are not in vain. Each one of you carries the essence of our journey, bound by a longing that stretches beyond the veil of despair, heartache. He paused and watched the reflection of the divine truth flicker in their eyes, and he felt a glimmer of hope. It wasn't just his words igniting their hearts. It was an awakening of a shared heritage, the tapestry of faith woven through generations, stretching back to the forefathers who traversed desert sands in search of the promise. Among the throng, cloaked in silence, an elder woman stepped forward. Her shoulders were bent, yet her eyes shone with a fierce light, reminding John of the ancient prophets. Speak of the signs, young seer. What is to come? She called, her voice resonating through the tension. There was an urgency in her tone, and as she spoke, it seemed as though the memories of trials faced by her people echoed within her. What must we do to preserve our hope? The nature of signs is not merely to forewarn us, but to call us into action, John replied, his voice steady. Through the coming tribulations, we will be prompted to choose between the grips of despair that draw us inward or the expansive embrace of hope that calls us outward. A low murmur swept through the crowd, and John sensed a movement, a shift. Skepticism clashed with hunger for truth, and within this dichotomy, a deeper question began to emerge, swirling beneath the surface. How could they trust in promises held by those who had long since departed? Could faith stand against the forthcoming storms that would challenge every belief they clung to? Just as the questioning reached a crescendo in his mind, the sky darkened again, the palpable weight of divine tension lingering. Had he stumbled into the depths of inquiry he was meant to raise? A young man near the front, emboldened by something within him, rose up. But what of the power they wield over us? The rulers and the authorities who profit from our subjugation? How do love and hope lead us against such towering giants? The words hung in the air, heavy yet liberating. John met the gaze of the man, feeling the fervor burn within him. To resist that which oppresses is indeed part of our calling, but it begins with the most profound rebellion of all, to love where hatred abounds. That love takes action. It is not passive or insipid. It burns alive with purpose. The crowd stirred, their thoughts wrestling with the fire ignited by his declaration. How could love be a weapon? Wasn't it meant for solace, for healing? Or could this very concept transform into a force that shook their foundations, reshaping their world? Unbeknownst to them, each question posed fanned the flames of a greater awakening and unraveling of complacency that bound them all. John felt a surge of courage from the hopeful vibrations that rippled through the crowd, entwined with lingering doubts that demanded confrontation as he gazed out over the faces, each one a story, an ambition. A heartbeat realized that the intermingling of darkness with the light of hope echoed not only through the ages but within each individual present. A question remained. Would they take the leap of faith into love as their guiding force? Or would they remain prisoners of fear, shackled by uncertainty on the precipice of their grand awakening? As the murmurs of the crowd subsided, an enigmatic wind rustled through the temple courtyard, catching the skirts of the elder's robe. It whispered secrets from the unseen, sending ripples of unease among the faithful. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, John felt a surge of Clarissa, knowing that the very air thick with their questions could either anchor them to despair or lift them into a realm of divine possibilities. The young man who had spoken, his brow furrowed, stepped closer, and John could sense a storm brewing within him. If we are to act with love, he pressed, fervently, what if it is in vain? History shows us that our sacrifices have often led to more suffering. How do we know this time will be different? John's heart sank momentarily. The weight of the youth's fear felt palpable, yet it bore the seed of a deeper truth. Ah, but therein lies the mystery, he replied, his voice firm yet gentle. Love does not guarantee a swift victory. It beckons us into the crucible of transformation. Each trial, each heartache, becomes a step toward the fuller revelation of our purpose. It shapes us into the vessels we are called to be. His words hung suspended in the air, weaving through the thoughts of the crowd, igniting flickers of understanding and uncertainty. How often had they been actors in a tragedy without fully understanding the script? Each moment of anguish had been a brushstroke on the canvas of their faith, each encounter with injustice a challenge that sought to shape their resolve. Consider the ancients, John continued, raising an arm skyward. Did their struggles end without meaning? No, their commitment laid the foundation for what is yet to come. They saw through the veil, listening for a whisper and assurance that a greater good lurked beyond the pain of the present. The elder woman, whose spirit had stirred with each word, interjected, but are we blind to the suffering? Do not those in power manipulate our stories, bend them to their will? How then do we discern the true from the false? John paused, reflecting upon her question. It nudged the corners of his mind, unraveling the tension that had knotted within him. Our eyes may become clouded by the shadows of deceit, but the heart knows when we rise to love, we sharpen our vision. We learn to see beyond the facade as we unveil our sacred truths. Prophetic visions are not handed down like stones of judgment. They awaken within us, as we commune with the divine. The crowd, caught in a tide of introspection, nodded. Here was an invitation, a call to break free from the shackles of doubt, and to reimagine their fractured world through a lens of hope and interconnectedness. As the sun's light edged out from behind tumultuous clouds, casting a golden hue across the courtyard, a palpable sense of courage began to swell. Yet, lingering on the edges was an unease. Was this rallying of spirits enough to withstand the tribulations ahead? Just then, a flicker of movement to the side drew John's attention. A man cloaked in shadows lingered at the outskirts of the gathering, his expression inscrutable. John's heart quickened as he sensed an ancient enigma pulling at the frayed threads of their faith. a reminder of the unseen forces that sought to intertwine within their story. What role would this stranger play in the unfolding drama? In this sacred exchange of words and hopes, an unspoken question loomed larger. Would they truly have the courage to embrace an uncertain path of love in the face of inevitable trials? Or were they to surrender once more to a narrative woven by fear and despair? The sun dipped lower in the sky, its fading light lending an ethereal glow to the moments enveloping the crowd. John turned his gaze from the cloaked figure back to the faces around him. Concern mingled with a tender hunger for answers, each person wrestling with their own silent struggles while seeking solace in collective hope. The uneasy whispers of the crowd began to stir again as the young man who had first spoken of love pressed further. But John, if love calls us to act, how do we remain steadfast in the face of betrayal and disillusionment? What will strengthen our brittle hearts? And what of our past? The elder woman queried, eyes wide with a mixture of trust and skepticism. We have witnessed glimmers of hope extinguished before our very eyes. Are we to dare again? In the deepening twilight, John felt the weight of their collective burden. Each question spiraled like wild vines around the posts of the temple. Faith, he began, is not a shield from heartache, but it's the cradle in which our souls grow. It beckons us to embrace the tension between hope and the trials we face. When love beckons, we step into unknown waters, trusting not merely our sight, but the quiet knowing that whispers within our hearts. The crowd leaned closer, drawn by the pull of his conviction. Can you not feel that even now, in this moment of uncertainty? Just as the tapestry of our lives is woven from threads of joy and sorrow, so too is the story we share. History is replete with contradictions, yet within the very failures we despair of, there lies an unyielding truth, a longing for redemption that is as sacred as the universe itself. But before he could elaborate, the figure cloaked in shadow moved forward, brushing past the edges of the gathering. Eyes that glimmered like embers peered from beneath the shroud. You speak of love and redemption. The man's voice emerged, crackling through the air. But love in the heart of man can swiftly turn to stone when faced with the abyss of betrayal. Have you considered, dear gathering, who among you holds the power to ignite both love and despair? The atmosphere shifted, thickening with trepidation. Silence enveloped the gathering like a shroud, charged with curious discomfort. John felt his pulse quicken. Here was a question that demanded their attention. Yet, my friend, he replied, is it not in our hands, empowered by choice, to decide how we will wield that power? While betrayal may tinge the soul, love is the balm that can heal even the deepest wounds. The man allowed a slow smile to creep across his shadowed face, light flickering across his features. Ah, but herein lies the rub, John. The heart is fickle, and the choices we make may be entwined with destinies we cannot foresee. Look back upon your former lives, and what do you see? Have you not, at times, cast stones that broke bonds rather than build bridges? The crowd murmured, a wave of uncertainty washing over them. They turned to one another, eyes searching for assurance, yet finding only reflection. The elder woman's face tightened in contemplation, feeling the weight of the stranger's words deep within her soul. The man took a step back into the shadows, his presence a haunting reminder of their intertwined fates. Consider well the nature of your resolve. For loving in a world woven with both light and darkness is the true test of your spirits. The lingering silence echoed as the last rays of sun vanished, leaving a darkened space where the flicker of grateful hearts began to tremble with doubt. John could sense radiating waves of conflict within them, each heart wrestling with the implications of their encounter. What stories might unfold if they embraced the power of choice, yet remained aware of the darkness that lurked at the edges? Would their love be the light that dispels the shadows, or might it instead become a forge for their vulnerabilities? The gathering sat enveloped in twilight, the last whispers of daylight slipping from view like memories too cherished to hold on to. John's heart thudded, not only with the weight of the questions posed but with the mingled hope and fear that trembled in the crowd. Each face reflected flickers of resolve and fragility, and he knew he must guide them through this labyrinth of uncertainty. Let us speak the truth of our stories, he urged, his voice steadying like a ship on a restless sea. Each of us carries a testament, an account of encounters between love and despair. Have we not known the warmth of kindness, only to later feel the chill of betrayal? Yet, within that very struggle lies the cradle of our growth. A young man stepped forward, eyes bright with determination. But how can we trust again? He asked, the quaver in his voice revealing his inner turmoil. When each act of love can lead us deeper into the shadows, how do we shield our hearts while still reaching out? John nodded, understanding. To trust is not to forsake caution. It is to choose to be vulnerable amid uncertainty, to plant seeds of affection even when the ground feels barren. We cannot cut ourselves off from that which makes us alive, even if it comes with the risk of pain. But just as he spoke, the cloaked figure wove back into view. The crowd shifted uneasily, a current of wariness stirring within them. Ah, John, the man intoned with measured intrigue. But what if the soil of your heart is tainted by past misdeeds? Nothing grows in unyielding earth. What then? Can love redirect a life swept away by desolation? The crowd held its breath, caught between John's earnestness and the enigmatic figure's dark provocations. John swallowed hard, feeling the piercing nature of the question. Even in the most hardened heart, there is the possibility of grace. We cannot allow the shadows of our past to dictate our capacity for love. Each day represents a new beginning, an invitation to cultivate compassion and forgiveness, both for ourselves and others. Yet the cloaked figure remained unfazed. And what of the times you have invoked betrayal simply by your presence? He prodded gently, dragging forth haunted thoughts. Is your love not tainted with conditions, a bargaining chip in a cold transaction? Perhaps the true test lies in the purity of your intentions. Can you love, free from the burden of expectation? The crowd breathed heavily, John's heart sinking as he contemplated those words. Could they truly love without strings? Would their hearts remain untainted as they reached for healing? Every heartbeat counts, John said, chasing the crooks of uncertainty. Choosing to act in love, despite the consequences, is heralded by faith. It reminds us that we do not walk through this world alone, and it is our connections that fortify our spirits. Our willingness to unveil the truth beneath the layers of our histories gives rise to the possibilities of tomorrow. As the last whispers of hope passed through the gathering, silence etched itself into the deepening night. The flickering light revealed faces touched by reflection, hearts swaying between the warmth of John's words and the chill of the cloaked figure's challenge. In the shadows, the cloaked figure gazed at John with a curious intensity, as if probing deeper into the marrow of his conviction. And will you cast your lot with them, John? Will you bear witness to both love and its shadow when the trials come to test your truth? As the moon ascended, casting its silvery glow over the assembly, John wrestled with his own fears and commitments. Could he lead his people through the darkness that haunted them, or would the weight of their collective history prove too burdensome for hope to flourish? What price would they pay for love, and would they be prepared to face the shadows lingering within their hearts? As the moonlight draped itself over the gathered faces, a palpable tension hung in the air. Gazes flicked between John and the cloaked figure, curiosity and trepidation merging in the silent reverie. The questions posed felt like tantalizing spirits of truth poised to reveal layers yet untouched. John took a deep breath, summoning courage from the stillness that enveloped him. Each trial we encounter asks us to look inward. He began, the urgency of his voice pulling them closer. In seeking to understand love, we must first confront the unresolved battles within ourselves. What burdens do we carry that obstruct the light of compassion? What fears have we tucked away, haunting us like shadows in the night? The young man who had spoken before clenched his fists, brow furrowed in concentration. And what of forgiveness? Can we extend that grace to ourselves as easily as we seek it from others? His inquiry resonated with many in the assembly. They nodded, some murmuring softly in agreement. John's thoughts lingered on the crucible of forgiveness, a pathway that demanded vulnerability. Forgiveness is like a wellspring, dear friends. It requires us to dig deep, shifting through layers of hurt and misunderstanding. When we forgive, it tunes our hearts to the melody of love anew. We become instruments of grace, allowing our scars to transform into stories of resilience. But we must first be willing to confront ourselves in the mirror of truth. The cloaked figure stepped closer, his voice low yet resonant like a bell struck in the still of night. Yet, are not memories of past wrongs a constant symphony of discord? How do you silence that music, John? How do you assure them that the soul shall not tremble under the weight of history? John steadied his gaze, willing to meet the challenge. Our histories shape us, yes, but they are not chains that bind us. They are threads interwoven in the tapestry of who we are, revealing both shadows and light. Each memory, each scar, can become a step toward wisdom if we choose to embrace it. In the silence that followed, whispers of the crowd began to unfurl, echoing doubts and hopes alike. Voices mingled, a mother yearning for reconciliation with her son, an elder seeking the courage to forgive a betrayal that scarred her youth. Their collective suffering filled the air like a haunting hymn. In such moments of introspection, John continued, we must ask ourselves, what do we truly desire? Is it the safety of heart? Or is it the audacity to love beyond measure? Love calls forth sacrifice, for it beckons us to strip away the armor we wear, even if that exposes us to pain. The cloaked figure remained observant, his presence a steadfast reminder of the realities they faced. And what happens when love brings not healing, but further heartache? Are you prepared to stand by their sides when storms arise, John? To ensure they remain steadfast even when love is a far-off whisper. John paused, reflecting not only on his words but on the weight of leadership that lay before him. The commitment to maintain the flame of hope while grappling with the relentless whispers of fear. I will stand with them, yes. I will be a witness to their trials and triumphs. For love must not remain a fleeting notion. It deserves to be anchored in authenticity and courage. We may falter in our journey, but if we keep our hearts open, we remain ever receptive to grace. As he spoke, the whispers of the crowd crescendoed into a soft murmur, a prayer woven through the uncertainty. They were yearning for a path, for clarity amidst the dissonance. Each heart was weighed down yet lifted by the flickering light of possibility. With the moon casting its silvery gaze deeper into the evening, John felt the enormity of this moment wash over him. Had he truly grasped the depth of what was required? Would he have the strength to navigate the inextricable bond between love and suffering? And as the cloaked figure turned slightly, revealing a glimpse of sorrow in his eyes, a deeper question crystallized in John's spirit: could love truly blossom in desolation? Or would it forever remain a blade that cut deeper into their shared truth? The air thickened with anticipation as John's words lingered in the stillness. Each listener felt the stirrings of their own stories, a collage woven from trials of heartache and flickers of hope, yet still guided by a deeper inquiry that loomed over them all. A soft sigh broke through the quiet, emerging from a figure at the back, a woman, her hands clasped in prayer, her voice fragile yet persistent. If love is indeed a purity of spirit, then why does its expression often lead to despair? How is it that our longing for connection can sometimes bring the sharpest of sorrows? The cloaked figure turned towards her, a semblance of understanding glistening in his eyes. Ah, sweet soul, therein lies the conundrum of the human heart. Love may indeed flourish amidst the ruins, yet it also exposes the vulnerabilities we most desire to hide. A paradox, perhaps. To love is to tread a sacred ground, one that can cleave as readily as it binds. John pondered this. The question of love's duality rippled through the gathering. He recognized that every person's heart beat differently in the rhythm of pain and tenderness alike. It is true, he replied thoughtfully, that love invokes both joy and suffering. Yet, we must not shy away from the complexities that arise simply because they frighten us. Rather, we must lean into the discomfort, allowing it to shape not only our understanding of love but our very existence. As murmurs filled the air again, John observed faces illuminated by the flickering lanterns, each set against shadows that danced like whispers of the past. Then, a voice softer than before, a young woman's, broke the chorus. But when love leads to loss, how do we find meaning in that emptiness? How does one navigate the dark corridors of grief? The cloaked figure took a step closer to the young woman, his voice akin to a gentle breeze. Pain, dear one, creates a void begging for solace. Yet in that very loss a profound metamorphosis occurs. To mourn is not simply to grieve what was, but to honor what remains. In every ending exists the seed of a new beginning. The challenge is not merely to bear the sorrow, but to seek the pearl of wisdom hidden within it. John felt his heart resonate with the cloaked figure's words. Could it be that, in their moments of loss, they could also perceive the traces of love, weaving a tapestry threaded with resilience? Let us be reminded, he encouraged gently, that pain gives birth to empathy, an anchor we can grasp as we reach out towards one another in our struggles. Understanding springs from shared experiences. When we unite in our vulnerabilities, we cultivate community rooted in compassion. Yet, doubt still lingered over the assembly. An elder with a furrowed brow spoke up, urgency lacing his voice. But what if our hearts are so fractured that we can no longer recognize the love within us? How do we rekindle flames extinguished by despair? As the discussion deepened, John realized he had stumbled upon a sacred inquiry. Does true love ever flicker out completely, or does it merely lay dormant, waiting for a spark to bring it back to life? It is in speaking our truth, in revealing our reservoirs of pain, that we coax our hearts back into the light. We need not carry these burdens alone. In sharing our stories, we summon the collective strength of our community. Together, we cultivate a space for healing, alignment, and ultimately, remembrance that love will always beckon us back home. But as John spoke, the cloaked figure observed silently, a deep frown etched upon his brow. Was John's hope enough to rekindle those lost or broken by love's trial? Would vulnerability alone lead them toward grace? Or was there a deeper exploration required? In that collective pause, an undeniable tension hung in the air, thick with unasked questions. People left the gathering with their hearts clenching with uncertainty. Was it mere possibility that lay before them, or a resolute truth waiting to unfold amidst the shadows? And so, as the moon shone down and the stars began to twinkle like distant promises, a lingering question embraced the crowd, one that would not so easily release them. In the pursuit of love's essence, how do we navigate the fragility of the human heart without losing ourselves? The air cooled as night deepened, and shadows stretched between the figures gathered, a blend of tension and yearning woven deeply into their discourse. Each heart wrestled with echoes of the cloaked figure's words, yet beneath the silent questioning lingered another, unvoiced, threading through their minds like a hidden river. In the stillness, the cloaked figure spoke once more, his tone even and profound. Do you not see? The essence of love is a reflection of the divine, its bewildering nature sculpted by the hands of creation. Each trial you endure, each wound you carry, draws you closer to the heart of the one who loves you most deeply. How can you not feel his presence in your sorrow? A tremor coursed through the gathering. For a moment, uncertainty united them, the mystery of their collective existence unveiled in shared vulnerability. Yet in that space of sincerity, the young woman who had questioned loss rose again, emboldened. But if love mirrors the divine, why then does it sometimes feel so distant? In times of anguish, I have searched for the face of love but have only found emptiness instead. Is this the truth behind love, that it is, at times, veiled from our sight? The cloaked figure's gaze softened, understanding washing over his expression. Ah, dear child, therein lies another mystery. The search for meaning often leads us to dark valleys where we feel abandoned. But let us not confuse absence with absence of love. This silence, this seeming void, is not indicative of detachment. Rather, it is an invitation to seek deeper. Love endures where we least expect it. Like roots beneath frost, it can nourish the branches yet unseen. John's heart quickened at the profound imagery. The realization that even in seasons of despair, love's essence remained ubiquitous, coursing through every being, echoed like a call to action within him. So it is in this darkness that we find an opportunity for rebirth, a chance to reshape our desires through faith amidst the uncertainty. He meditated aloud. Yet, he could not ignore the gnawing complications that still lingered, the question of how one might integrate both light and shadow in the pursuit of love. Elders in the crowd nodded thoughtfully, some with furrowed brows, wrestling with the weight of wisdom and experience. An elder man finally broke the silence, his voice deep and gravelly. Yet, what if one's pain becomes so consuming that the heart hardens, preventing love from manifesting? Can love seep through the barriers we construct in self-defense? The cloaked figure awaited the tumult of thoughts that spun through the gathering before replying gently, "Ah, but do not forget the power of love to soften and reshape, much like a sculptor brings grace to stone. What if your fragility, dear friend, is the very canvas on which love paints its most cherished masterpieces?" Sometimes, vulnerability births unexpected blossoms. A collective introspection swept through the crowd, encapsulating both the sweetness of hope and the bitterness of fear. John sensed their hearts beginning to grapple with this notion, the potential to conjure beauty from within their struggles. However, shadows were not easily cast aside, and the cloaked figure's lingering frown suggested that the journey was not as simple as mere acceptance. Yet, just as the gathering seemed poised on the precipice of understanding, a boy, youthful and wide-eyed, raised his hand. "But if we are to love even when it hurts, how do we shield ourselves from further pain? How do we choose between retreating into safety and reaching for connection?" With a slight nod, the cloaked figure seemed to acknowledge the profound weight of his question. "A wise child. Shielding oneself can lead to walls that isolate. Consider instead that true courage often lies in facing vulnerability, not shying away from it. It is in those moments of uncertainty that we begin to discover that love, while indeed capable of deep scars, also possesses the unparalleled ability to heal." The complexity of his words saturated the air, revealing an intricate tapestry of faith, loss, and resurrection. Each participant wrestled with the tantalizing possibility that after all the pain, love held the potential to emerge anew, resilient and transformative. As they departed into the night, the stars remained a steadfast witness to their unfolding journey. Yet one question lingered, cutting through the fog of doubt and igniting curiosity. In the midst of heartache, can the shadows of love ever illuminate a truer path towards understanding and connection? In the final moments of that fateful night, the fragile balance of hope and despair hung in the air, a delicate tapestry woven from threads of shared stories and whispered fears. John, surrounded by the murmur of introspection, felt the weight of his mission settle heavily upon him, like the pressing darkness of a storm-laden sky. How does one navigate such tumultuous emotions? As he looked into the eyes of those gathered, he understood that they were not just seeking answers. They were yearning for a glimpse of the divine in the chaos of their lives. Suddenly, a shaft of moonlight pierced the clouds, illuminating the courtyard in a silvery glow that danced like fireflies among the shadows. It felt as though the heavens themselves had conspired to bestow clarity upon them. And as if on cue, John felt a wave of inspiration surge within him. "Beloved kin," he exclaimed, his voice rising with conviction that seemed to vibrate through the very stones beneath their feet. "We stand on the precipice of our destiny. Each question we've asked this night, each wound we've shared, has forged a unique path toward deeper understanding. We have traversed the valleys of despair, yet we find ourselves called to illuminate the hidden corners of our hearts with the brilliance of love." The crowd stirred, the flickers of doubt converging with the flames of awakening. "Transformation is upon us. Each one of you is a bearer of light, a vessel crafted from both shattered dreams and resilient hope. You are not defined by your struggles. No, dear friends. Rather, you are defined by your capacity to rise from them, to embrace love even amidst the rubble of your fears. Each time you choose to love when it feels safest to retreat into isolation, you create a testament to the strength that lies within you." Each word hung suspended in the air like the wisps of smoke from incensed altars, and slowly but surely, a shift enveloped the gathering. Faces glowed with renewed awareness, hearts began to beat in synchrony, a chorus of whispered acknowledgments filled the air. The cloaked figure, who had haunted the corners of John's thoughts, stepped forward with an unspoken invitation, revealing his human vulnerability. "And will they recognize the divine spark amid the scars of their existence?" he asked, eyes gleaming with a rare emotion. "For to love is to take on the mantle of suffering. To believe in love's resurrection, can you witness the truth hidden in moments of weakness and pain?" The air grew still, resonating with this profound challenge. John met the eyes of each person present, sensing a growing sense of resolve, like roots clasping soil, seeking nourishment in the depths of the earth. Let us be reminded, he said earnestly, that within every wound lies the seed of hope. To love is to accept the possibility of hurt, yet it is also holding fast to the belief in healing, in redemption. Even the darkest nights eventually yield to dawn as his words ignited embers in their hearts. A new understanding began to dawn. The raw struggle of their collective experience blurred the lines between the individual and the community. Each scar became a bridge, spanning the chasms of fear and doubt, igniting a resurgence of courage that spread through the crowd like wildfire across parched land. Suddenly, an elder rose from the back, her voice shivering through the air. "But what of the world beyond our gathering?" she implored, urgency weaving through her tone. "How do we manifest this love when the forces of darkness relentlessly strive to diminish our light? How do we define our roles amidst the chaos that threatens to engulf us?" John felt the weight of her question thrum like a pulse, reverberating through the assembly. "To love is to act," he declared, standing taller, feeling the strength of unity envelop him. "It is to work tirelessly to illuminate the shadows that invade our midst. Every small act of kindness, every thoughtful word, every hand extended in compassion, these ripple outwards, resonating through the fabric of our world. Love refracts the essence of divine truth, and it is love that ultimately bears the power to change the course of humanity." A collective murmur began to channel through the gathering, once more igniting passion and resolve. "Will you join me in this sacred endeavor?" John implored, locking eyes with each soul present, an unbreakable connection blooming in the air. "Will you choose to embody love, to embrace the storms that howl around you while steadfastly nurturing the flame within? For love, when poured out abundantly, shall become an ocean that can wash away despair." A wave of agreement rolled through the crowd, voices raised in unison, echoing their heartfelt pledge to love unconditionally, to act, to heal, and to transform. The atmosphere shifted as uncertainty melted away, replaced by a conviction that resonated like the deep, resonant thrumming of a drum that somehow harmonized with the very rhythm of the universe. With their hearts intertwined in that present moment, they understood this. They were the architects of their destiny, shaping their identity through the loving choices they made both collectively and individually. It became clear that each of them was not merely a bearer of grief but a steward of hope, an ambassador of light in a world that often sought to eclipse it as the night faded. Surrendering to a soft dawn that bathed the landscape in hues of gold and pastel, a new day dawned over Jerusalem. They stood side by side, hearts brimming with faith and purpose, invigorated by the realization of their shared journey. The cloaked figure smiled, his features softened, as if witnessing the birth of a promise they all were meant to carry. And so, as the early rays of sunlight graced their gathering, each heart began to awaken. The journey of love was just beginning. The revelation that echoed in the depths of their souls was this: true power lies not in dominion, but in the resolute act of loving one another, even amidst the shadows that threatened to consume. In that instant, the essence of who they had become solidified, imprinted upon eternity. The city of Jerusalem pulsed with possibility, and so did the heart of every soul that chose love over fear. United, they stepped forward into the brightness of a new dawn, a celebration of light that would forever change their stories, for they had come to understand the truth. When love becomes the cornerstone of existence, the very fabric of the universe bends to its will. The final echo of the gathering lingered in the air, an incantation meant to blaze forth into the world, a legacy awaiting realization. Together, we rise in love.